What's up, guys, to another squirrely guide video. This is a follow-up to my arena defense video, so feel free to check that out if you're trying to set up a strong arena defense. But today we're going to talk about arena offense, and we're going to talk about real arena offense. Now, what do I mean by that? So you know how I feel about hype and like misleading videos. There's a lot of videos out there that'll say things like dominate legend players with Aether, and it's all BS because they probably tried that comp like 10 times before it actually succeeded. And they claim that it's beating legend players, but if you look at the people they're beating, they're not legend players at all, and it was probably recorded on like a Monday afternoon when no one in legend is actually playing. So this video is going to be about actual viable arena offenses that work at the highest levels, and I'm using these exact kind of teams for my own pushes. And if you look at this, I've placed legend top 50 in pretty much all the weeks of this season so far. I'm probably going to quit soon because I have enough of a lead. And as of Endeavor season week 5, I'm ranked 37th on global. So we're gonna talk about real meta arena offenses today, comps that you can actually use at the highest levels, and not trolly meme comps that don't actually work against anyone decent. So as always, this guide video is going to be broken down into several topics. So number 1, we're going to have a little introduction. Number 2, we're going to talk about cleave compositions. Number 3, we're going to talk about the SSB Auto comp. Number 4, we're going to talk about Tankbuster comps. And number 5, we're going to talk about how to be flexible and some off-meta comps. And I will show you guys the kind of teams that are hitting me during blind day, which is really the only day that matters, so you can get a sense of what some other top legend players are demolishing me with. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so topic number 1, introduction. I just wanted to cover quickly what we're going to talk about, what we're not going to talk about. So what we are going to talk about is 3 general offensive compositions that are very meta and popular, but we're not going to talk about specific compositions because I don't want you to think that you need to have these specific heroes for it to work. These are general offenses with interchangeable pieces. So for each of these compositions, we're going to talk about number 1, general concept, number 2, strengths, number 3, weaknesses, number 4, some common composition ideas, and throughout that video, I will show you a real example of using it against a top legend player. And it is not to call these guys out. I intentionally picked really strong people that would probably beat me 9 out of 10 matches in RTA because I wanted to show that these are real legend players with frames, with strong defenses, and not some troll high challenger person that I'm trying to debut some stupid comp against. So this is why I picked these players. Now, another thing I want to cover is remember that arena offense is typically a trade-off of 3 factors. Number 1, speed, which, and I don't mean like speed as in the stat, I mean speed, how quickly can you win your match with this comp. Number 2, safety, and safety is RNG resistance. Is this team consistent, or do you lose every time you get evaded or someone 15% resists you? And number 3, versatility. How many defenses does this offense actually work against? Now, in my own pushes, from Monday through Saturday, I typically emphasize speed because your rating here absolutely doesn't matter. I don't really do any pushing until Sunday because I notice that if I do push before Sunday, all it does is feed the top 3 people who are really the only people grinding. You'll see that the legend cutoff is still only like 30th. In the world, which is like it's a Wednesday right now, so no one cares. No one actually plays arena until late Saturday into Sunday, so this cutoff will be around here until that time. So Monday through Saturday is really your experimentation time. You'll notice here my win rate is terrible. It's because I'm just attacking with cleave and everything because I'm emphasizing speed. I don't want to waste time doing arena, and for the most part I'm just doing NPC matches to get my crystals. So Monday through Saturday, feel free to experiment with whatever you want. You don't have to take it seriously until Sunday. Sunday, try to get to the highest bracket you can because obviously you want to get your end of the week rewards. And these add up to a lot of Sky Stones. Never take the Mystics, always take the Sky Stones, because if the Hoochie Scam shop opens, you get more Mystics by just buying them with Sky Stones this way. Another final note I want to talk about before we get started is that this video was made in Endeavor season, so if you're watching this in the future, it's very possible that the meta may have changed, so just keep that in mind. Some of these concepts may still be viable, but some of these teams I'm discussing may not be the norm like 6 months to a year from now. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the first composition. Alright, so topic number 2, let's talk about the basic cleave comp. This is a common one that I use. The general principle is obviously to go first and destroy the opposing team as quickly as possible. I did a whole video on cleaving, so go ahead and check that out if you want to know more about the details. The strengths. This is the fastest way to get wins, which is important during rush hour, but less important than it used to be, because with the new point system, the importance of rush hour is generally de-emphasized, because nowadays the top 50 players have climbed so much that you can't possibly catch up to them during rush hour anyway. So it's a little less important than it used to be. It's also ideal against ideal for people who don't like arena and don't want to do long matches. Just get it over as quickly as possible. Until Sunday, I'm pretty much cleaving everybody because I don't want to play. And against certain defenses, it's also very easy and consistent. So if you have very good gear, you can get a lot of wins very quickly. Weaknesses. It needs very good speed gear at the high tiers. Once you're in high legend, pretty much expect everyone to be like 300, minimum like 285 speed plus. Now this is dangerous because of the 5% speed RNG. Let's say this Roman's 295 speed and my Oxlots is 300. That still means I might lose, because that Roman will outspeed me because of speed RNG a specific number of times, and at such high speed levels, you can't really bank on outspeeding them if they have any speedy character on their defense. Also, at the lower tiers, the gear of most of your people, except the speed on your initiator and the damage on your main cleaver, aren't that important. At the high tiers, your supporting cast better have good gear, because against a defense like this, if they're built really tanky, my Judge Kisei, and she's pretty strong, but not top tier, her S2, S3, that Ruel might survive with like 80% health. That's how tanky these people are. So you really need good gear on not only your main cleaver, but your supporting cast, so it's very, very gear dependent. Also at the high tiers, pretty much everyone is putting something on their defense to deter cleave, whether it's Remnant Violet. I'm surprised I don't see any on this page, but Tempest Surin is all over the place. Everyone is trying to do something to counter cleave, so there's always something that might trip you up. Another thing is cleaves are typically highly susceptible to RNG. One bad counter, one artifact you didn't anticipate, one resist, and you lose. So cleaves are typically the least consistent offense out of the options we're going to discuss in this video. Now, in terms of cleaves that are very common at the high tier, Oxlot's Judge Kisei is still the standard. In topic 5, we'll go over some unique ones that people have hit me with. But typically, if you have something like an ML Ken, they might do something like this, where they bring an FCC just to make sure that the Judge Kisei survives certain encounters. If you have an extremely, extremely tanky defense, another very common one is this, because you bring a one-shotter, 2 one-shotters with Seedom and Watcher Shuri, and Watcher Shuri also brings a solid speed imprint. Those are some really common ones. There are some people still running Basar Tywin, but again, that one's susceptible to resists. And some people also use like Athletica cleaves and stuff as well, but I don't have Athletica, so I don't have that much experience with those. So with that out of the way, let's go into an overview against a match with a real legend player using a cleave team. Alright, so let's go ahead and try and cleave this top 100 RTA player. So clearly this guy's better than me, because I was nowhere close to top 100 RTA last season. I peaked around like top 200 champion. So I'm going to bring Acid here because I'm sure his Cerise is faster than my Alots, and I'll give you a sense of why it's difficult to cleave at these higher levels. I generally don't cleave very much at all on Sunday. So I do outspeed the Cerise, and I push him back here, but the thing is, she could have resisted this easily. My personal favorite is when I try to push back a Basar, and I don't push him back, and he gets silenced, and he transfers it to my A-lots. I want to break my keyboard when that happens. But here I cleave, and notice, from the Judge Kisei S2, the Rowana basically didn't, she just got a tickling. And now with the S2, S3 combo, that Rowana is still well over 50% life. Now, the reason I brought Arbiter here is because I actually wanted Tempesturin to kill him so that I can counter cleave with Arbiter right after. But do you get the sense of why it's difficult to cleave at these high tiers unless you have Godly Gear? Like, I'm obviously struggling here because my damage output in the opener wasn't enough. Now, I could have brought something like C-Dom here for extra burst, but C-Dom will probably get one-shotted by the T-Surd, and then I auto-lose, which is why I did not do that. But notice just how tanky they are. Like, this FCC is not going down. Now, finally, my Arbiter dies and comes back so I can unleash DS3. But yeah, this is the sense, like, this does not look very safe, right? Something goes wrong, and I'm definitely going to lose this match. So here we go, like, I have no real targets here, so I try to go for the FCC. But this is kind of what cleaving against a top player looks like if you don't have God tier gear. Now, really strong players will have like 4,500 attack, 350 crit damage Judge Kiseis, and they may be able to cleanly and efficiently wipe out even top defenders. But I will say that even with my kind of piddly kind of gear, I've been able to stop most Oxlot's cleaves. Like, even like top 10 players don't really Oxlot's cleave me anymore. It's pretty easy to defend against. So definitely not the safest offense. Most people who cleave me are kind of using off-meta comps specifically designed to counter my defense. Now we go ahead and wrap this up. We did manage to do a win, but notice it's nowhere near as clean as cleaves in like lower mid champion where basically you just one-shot them in the opener. This was a very messy one because it was against a very strong player. Let's move on. Alright, so topic number 3, the SSB Auto Team. So I've mentioned this comp in a lot of my previous videos and people always ask me what this was, so we're going to discuss it right now. So the general concept is it's against a team, the defense has insufficient sustain to deal with SSB damage output, so you just grind the team down on auto brainlessly with S2 counters. This is a very simple and powerful composition. Strengths. Very high damage output with attack buff if you built SSB properly, and you have reasonably fast matches. It's very safe because you can bring stuff like double Soul Weaver or even double Soul Weaver Knight. Crow is a very popular executioner in this comp, and it has a lot of damage mitigation and can still cleave down teams pretty efficiently. It's very strong against zero sustain comps like this. Like, this comp has no healing, so you can just slowly whittle them down with SSB. And the biggest strength, at least for me, is this team is very autoable. So if you don't want to pay attention during your matches, especially if it's going to be a long match, this is a brainless comp where you can enter, press auto, and basically win. There are situations where you have to manual, like here, I would not want DN to put up attack buff before Alencia goes, but after Alencia goes, I can basically click auto, and it's an automatic win. Weaknesses, obviously you need SSB, so if you don't have SSB, this is not a viable offense. Also, another weakness is, for it to truly shine, you need a high limit broken Reingars. If you don't have Reingars, you can still use Rosa Hargana pretty effectively, but the damage or the defense ignoring the damage from Reingars really speeds this comp up a lot. Another weakness is that Rowana is everywhere nowadays in the top 100, and this comp is virtually useless against any Rowana defense. Now, if you want to manual, you can theoretically still win because SSB is unbuffable and unhealable, but still going to take forever and it's not worth the risk. Basically, you have to dodge 50% of the defenses in the top 100 now because Rowana is a no-go. So those are the main weaknesses and strengths. Let's talk about some common compositions. So This is one I use pretty often if they don't have a lot of damage output on the defense, just to speed things up, because S10 does a lot of damage and can't be targeted. If they do have a lot of damage on the defense, then I'll stick in something like Crow or Fallen Cecilia. Fallen Cecilia is safer for auto, but Crow has the execution potential on the S3 to speed things up. Another popular thing to do to speed it up is just bring Charles instead of DN, and then you still have the attack buff and you have extra damage from Charles. I don't have any invincibility heroes built, but another popular thing you could do here is use C. Armin or Elena for invincibility. That also works very well with an SSB auto comp. So we're going to go with a safe one for this video, but let's go ahead and go to kind of like a showcase of this. Alright, so to showcase the SSB Auto Team, I'm going to attack this guy because he has a top 30 frame. Now normally, and I think this is a top 20 player as well, I would dodge this team because of ML Roman. But I'm sick of refreshing to find stuff. As you can see, I'm out of refreshes. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit this and pray that he doesn't Abyssal Crown my whole team. But because that's a possibility, I usually just dodge this. But if I survive the silences, I should be able to turn it on auto and really showcase the power of this comp. But normally, I would dodge this 100%. So let's see the silences here. So he did stun my Ruel, unfortunately. But it's actually not bad. This is actually not bad. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to turn on auto right now. I don't think I have to do any big brain plays here. I think my Ruel will survive this because she's quite tanky and she's on Water's Origin, and the DN did not get silenced, so this is actually not that bad of a situation. Arbiter does not get the Alexa's Basket proc, and look, I am literally doing nothing here. This is on auto against a top 20 player. This is a very strong player with a top 30 legend frame, so he knows exactly what he's doing. And look, I don't have to do anything. This is the power of an SSB auto team against a team with no sustain. So there we go. ML Roman goes, hopefully doesn't proc the extra attack, he doesn't. And this is a wrap. I'm not really doing anything, right? But SSB's counters are just so freaking strong that she's just mopping them up by herself against a top 30 player. Now Arbiter goes, maybe get some damage out, but with double Soul Weaver, Ruel, and DN, it's no problem. No problem. Now I could have easily lost that match if he silenced my entire team. That's why ML Roman is always so dangerous, but since he didn't, this was an automatic win. So in general, I would say this kind of comp is probably not the safest hit for an SSB auto, but look, less than 2 minutes on auto against a top 30 team, and I get the W, and that's the power of SSB Auto. Alright, so topic number 4, let's talk about the Tankbuster comp, which is my favorite comp during my pushes. So the general concept is that on Sunday, a lot of people are running super tanky stall comps. So the goal of this comp is to bust through a single tanky target at a time as quickly and efficiently as possible without dying. And these kind of comps are really great for maintaining win streaks, which are very helpful when you're pushing. The strengths. Typically very safe because stall comps usually only have one serious damage option. Like here, it's Remnant Violet. And a lot of times it'll be Tempest Surin instead. But a single DPS defense usually doesn't have too much damage. It's a reliable way to break through super tanky stall defenses that aren't safe to cleave, like Double Knight, Double Soul Weaver, something like that. And another advantage is the gear requirements aren't particularly bad. You basically just need to be able to tank the single DPS that is on the defense. Weaknesses. The main weakness is it's relatively slow depending on what composition you're using. Like this one that I'm showing here is fairly slow, very safe. Now you can, like I said, it's a trade-off. You can make this faster and make it less safe. Like for a while I tried Tamseria, but I didn't really like it because it pissed me off when his Seria got resisted, but that one was fairly fast. Another one that's common is double Lot Sirmia, but it's not effective if they have like water units on their defense. But double Lot Sirmia plus Ruel is something that's pretty damn fast actually, because you can wipe out 2 people in 1 turn if your Sirmia is jacked enough. So stall comps can be pretty efficient if you build the right one. The safest one by far, and I don't have him right now, is Dark Corvus. If you have Dark Corvus on a Tankbuster team, you will win 100% of the time, but it is the slowest one out there. You can try to speed it up with Viseria, but like Fire Acades D Corvus is probably the safest Tankbuster comp out there. You pretty much cannot lose with that offense, but the matches will take forever and be extremely boring. So let's go ahead and use this super safe Tankbuster comp, and I'll show you how it works in action against the Legend defense. Alright, so let's try tank busting this guy. He's ranked 18th on global right now, so he'll probably end up getting a top 30 frame, and he got Legend last season. So he's going to be a very strong player. And we're going to use my super safe Tankbuster here. I don't like using this team that much because it's kind of on the slower end if she gets resisted, but it is very safe, and for the purposes of this video, that's what I'm going for. So this comp would probably be much faster with Rose. If you have a fast Rose and speed tune it right, you can go straight from F Flurry into the S10A Burst. But this is an example of a really tanky team with not that much damage. Their only damage is Tempest Surin. Unfortunately, I dual attack there, so she's going to unbuffable me before DN goes, which is kind of annoying. But again, with 2 Soul Weavers and Aureus, highly unlikely that they will ever kill me. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip this turn. And I keep dual attacking so I can get this stuff off of my S10A so that I can buffer next turn. Now I'm just going to go ahead and let's try to find out what artifact this Ruel is on. Idol's Cheer, so I bump him up even more. My F Flurry. Why do I keep dual attacking? So this is the kind of RNG that gets very irritating, but nonetheless, it will be fine. I can always heal up F Flurry, no big deal. It's a dual attack fiesta. So here we go, we can finally get attempt to defense break on Ruel. So let's go ahead and do that now. And we do land. We don't get the provoke, but the provoke is not the important part. And now this Ruel is already dead. 100% this Ruel is going to die. There's no way a Ruel survives a attack buffed S10A combo. So she's dead here. And at this point, they have no real sustain, right? Rowana has her S3, but it's not enough to out-heal a Spectre Tenebria by any stretch of the imagination. So at this point, I already won. So all you really have to do is do something like this, where you wipe out one target at a time. Because there's so many Ruels at the top tier, the main priority target is going to be Ruel. But we're going to fast forward a little bit, and I'll show you the parts where I kill each of these heroes. But at this point, it's just basically a mop-up activity. Again, if I used Rose instead of DN, I probably could have done this right on the opener, and it would have been slightly faster. Alright, so here we're going to be able to go for another kill soon, so I'm going to go ahead and defense break this Rowana now. We do land it, and this is going to be over in short order. So as you can see, nowhere near as fast as a Cleave team, but still fairly fast, definitely not slow. So this total match was about like 3 to 4 minutes, which is not bad, and this was on the safer side, so we're just going to burn this. FCC is going to die, and we'll wipe out the Rowana. So about 3 to 4 minutes to take out a top 20 player. So this guy is clearly very, very good, and still pretty fast, efficient offense against them, and totally viable during a Sunday night push. So there we go, Rowana goes down, we'll heal up the Spectre Tenebria, and the Spec 10A is going to obliterate this Tempest Surin now, this upcoming turn. So 1, boop, another dual attack, and 2, and we get our win against a top 20 player this season. So I hope that kind of illustrated how a super safe Tankbuster team works. Let's move on. Alright, so our final topic is talking about how to be flexible, and a discussion on some quote-unquote off-meta comps. They're not really off-meta, but First of all, let's talk about being flexible. One mistake that newer players get into is getting set on this idea that they can build a single offense that can beat everything. And we're going to look at this from the perspective of this basic Oxlotch Judge Kisei Cleave as an example. So let's take this defense as an example. This team works on some defenses, but the ACID really provides no value, right? So if this was your base Cleave, it doesn't make any sense to bring ACID because he doesn't really have much of a purpose here. But the thing is, all these heroes are really tanky. So maybe we bring Cdom, right? Because with the Soul Burn, she can probably one-shot anything here. But they have 4 tanky heroes, so maybe we need even more damage, so we'll bring something like Watcher Shuri. So here we have a strong main cleaver with 2 strong one-shot backups that will go back-to-back. So maybe we cleave them, soften it up, and then Cdom one-shots the Ruel and Watcher Shuri one-shots the Apoc Ravi, and then it's just a cleanup activity. But let's pretend that instead of Apoc Ravi, there was an ML Ken on this defense. Well, you can't really judge Kisei ML Ken, right? Because ML Ken will one-shot her. So maybe instead of Watcher Shuri, we bring Fallen Cecilia, because with the Fallen Cecilia barrier and an Aureus, Judge Kisei can easily survive most martial artist Kens, especially if they don't proc Sigurd Scythe. So the point here is that you have to always adjust to every defense. Let's say it was this same defense, except instead of Apoc Ravi this time, they had a Basar. Well, then maybe we bring the ACID back to make sure that the ACID outspeeds. The point here is, with your offenses, do not get too set on a single offense. You should always be removing and adding pieces based on what the defense is presenting and the defense's strengths and weaknesses. So this doesn't only apply to Cleaves, obviously. This applies to all the other comps we discussed. SSB Auto, Tankbuster. If it's a super solid tank team with absolutely no DPS potential, then don't bring a Knight for damage mitigation, bring an extra DPS to speed it up. If you're doing the SSB Auto team and you have a Basar or something, maybe you bring Lilius to try and cleanse all that stuff off. Top players are not using just 3 set offenses for every single match. They are adjusting their offenses for every single defense, especially because for the most part, they want to clear the page because the win streak bonus is really nice, free flags, free points, and you really want to maintain that as much as you can to push faster. Now let's talk about how to be flexible within the actual match itself. Another thing you have to learn that just comes with experience is being able to adapt to bad situations. Here's a terrible situation. I outspeed the ACID, but the Basar is still faster than my Alots. And this is a top 40 player, by the way. If I push back ACID, then the Basar goes first. If I push back Basar, the ACID goes for my Oxlots. So really think about the turn order. And I realize my only shot of winning here is to go after Arbiter so he kills my Arbiter, and then maybe I can counter cleave them. Still a low probability play, but the other 2 plays were 0 probability plays, or 0% chance plays. So this was my only shot at winning, even though it was kind of unorthodox. And it ended up panning out because my Arbiter hit ACID through the evasion buff. But these are the kind of things where you're just going to have to learn through experience to make the highest EV play, if you're familiar with poker, to try and eke out a win when things don't go your way. Alright, so now let's talk about the kind of teams that players are using to crack me and see how they fit into my previous definitions. So this is not Rush Hour right now, but we'll go over some screenshots from actual Rush Hour, but just take a look. This guy SSB auto'd me. This guy used an Isseria DC Tankbuster comp. This is also an SSB Auto with Charles for the attack buff. SSB Auto, some kind of Kayron-ish, and maybe he doesn't have SSB, an SSB Auto team with Kayron in there. So as you can see, a lot of these players, and this guy's like 50, I think this is like a rank 4 player or something, they're using the comps I'm talking about. Now let's talk about some screenshots I took from last week's blind day. So here we could see some successes against an S10A Tankbuster team. There were 2 of them actually. Seem to have the basic principles of Soul Weaver, S10A. The top one has an attack buff. Let's move on. Here we have even more S10A, so 2 more S10A. So S10A is very popular at the high tiers. The S10A DN combo is very strong. The top one, he also brought Arbiter for extra damage, which was smart because my defense team didn't have much outgoing damage, so you didn't have to worry about dying. You don't need to bring much damage mitigation against my team. Here, sorry for the media thing, but you see an Oxlot's Cleaver attack me, so some people do try to Oxlot's Cleave even at the high levels. On the bottom, you could see like a DN Dizzy Kayron team. And this one, you could see just more Oxlots people attacking me. But the bottom one I liked. It was a double lot Sirmia Tankbuster. If you have these heroes built and it works against a specific defense, it's probably one of the fastest Tankbuster comps out there because Sirmia can literally S3 every turn as long as you're confident that she can one-shot through like Adamant and Aureus, which is not always the easiest task, but Sirmia does hit like a truck. So those are just some examples of the teams that are attacking me, and I just wanted to talk about them to show that players at the top during blind day are indeed using these kinds of offenses. I'm not making this stuff up. Now let's talk about some kind of off-meta offenses. All right, so finally let's talk about off-meta offenses, and really that's a misnomer because I don't mean off-meta, I really mean teams that don't fit nicely into the definitions of the 3 compositions described previously. So this one is from a post that Liminal, top arena player, put on my Discord a few weeks ago. So pretend that this Giga Phantasm is Athletica, because I don't have Athletica, but this was a team that he claimed he used very often in the previous arena season. So I would consider this a Cleave team, but a lot of people might not, because the traditional Cleave, people always think of an AoE attacker, and this is obviously a lot of single target damage. So the turn order would be Athletica goes, then C-Dom burns and one-shot something and pushes up the rest of the team, then Watcher Shuri one-shot something, and then Lilibet one-shot something. So I don't really consider this an AoE Cleave comp, but really it is a Cleave comp. But that's an example of an offense that might not fit nicely into the definitions of the teams described previously. Now, I can tell you for a fact that a lot of Legend players did hit me with things that were not traditional. Like some people actually attacked me with like debuff teams, or was just like Dizzy, Fire, Tenebria, things like that. Like there's a lot of different offenses out there that are viable, and that's why it's important to be flexible. You don't want to get too pigeonholed into set offenses. Once you get better at the game and understand what kind of attributes each hero brings to the table, you can start crafting some really unique and fun offenses that can counter them pretty hard. The one caveat to that is obviously to do that you need to have a lot of heroes built. So that's all I wanted to say for off-meta comps. Obviously, I can't discuss all the possible permutations out there. I just really wanted this section in this video to make sure that you guys understand that feel free to use teams that don't fit the previous 3 definitions. As long as it works, that's absolutely okay. All right, boys, so I think we can wrap this video up, so let's summarize real quick. We talked about 3 meta offenses. Number 1, the basic Cleave. Number 2, SSB Auto. And number 3, the Tankbuster comp. And we also looked at some unique off-meta teams that some top-end players used to demolish my defense. And these are the kind of comps that will really elevate your play and really carry you to the top. I cannot emphasize enough, do not buy into the hype of some other YouTubers out there. Some of them are good, but some of them are just trying to get views, and they'll clickbait you with nice showcases and extravagant titles and try to sell you heroes that no Legend player actually uses in Legend Arena. So if you follow this advice, maybe one day you'll be able to go to your win rate log and you'll see this nice screen of Legend. You'll be able to get your nice top 100 frame, and you'll be a bona fide Legend player. So anyways, if a Legend player does happen to see this and you have your own advice, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. If you think I made a mistake, feel free to correct me. By no means do I think I'm one of the best players in the world. I know a ton of you are way better than me, including the people that I showed in this video. And it'd be great for the community if you could share your own tips and your own advice. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want more squirrely guide videos, and best of luck to you on your arena grind. Till next time, peace out.